right, okay, let's get started. Hey guys, welcome back. It's episode 3 of the day. My name is Ryan Selvy, and this is Offset, the episode series where I get to take over Adobe Live and get to bring on really creative people and talk to them about their process, their inspiration, their sketchy work, their everything in between, you name it. It works kind of a Q&A podcast style. So if you have questions in the chat while we're going live, please, by all means, put them in the chat. I will relay them to Kendall. I'm very excited to bring Kendall on the show. You guys probably know her from the chat. She is always in Behance chat all the time. She's also a great moderator of Anna Davis Court, which Monkey Paws comes from. And Monkey Paws is a segment that we will be doing later in the show. We didn't have time to actually do it in the last episode, which I'm realizing, which I feel bad about. So hopefully, guys, your little hands are okay. But hello to Jessica and Jess, Anthony, Rob, Bruce, Sam Peterson, great streamer, great illustrator. He's been our moderator today. If you guys are over on YouTube, make sure you hop on over to Behance. That's where all the conversation is. Sam will put the link for the Behance in the chat of the YouTube. And yeah, there are no questions off limits as long as they're appropriate and kind. I'm happy to relay them over to Kendall. She's a fantastic, wonderful motion designer and illustrator. And I'm really excited to have her on. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you in. So here you come, Kendall. Hey, how are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Thursday. Happy Offset Day 2.
Yes.
It's great to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Been riding this high of constant offset, and having a really good time today. We had 2 really strong episodes. I'm super confident this is going to be the third most strong of the day, but also the first most strong. That was a bad way of wording it. So hi, hello. But do you want to take the kind of platform at the very beginning here to just introduce yourself, talk to you about what got you into art, what kind of art you like, and where you get your inspiration?
Yeah. So my name is Kendall Hotchkiss. I'm an illustrator and motion designer, and also art director. And I'm currently freelancing. And I previously have worked for Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V, as well as Colorado University. And yeah, that's kind of pretty much my background. As far as getting into art, I've kind of just been all over the place. I've always done art, so that's kind of like the basics. And I went to school for advertising, graphic design, and found motion design shortly, like kind of during my school years, but then shortly after as well. And it was kind of like stair step into it. And
I feel like that's a lot of the common story for a lot of people that are in motion design. They're like, I went and I got trained in this and I had interest in this, and then motion kind of just snuck its way there. And then I suddenly found myself obsessed with motion design, and now I'm a motion designer.
Well, and it was really funny because I would show up to my classes, and it was like all graphic design, but the like behind the scenes stuff was animation things. And so I would like show up to like Animation Collective, and I was like, my joke was like, I'm the resident graphic designer, because no one really knew how to do all of the design stuff of it, but they were mostly concentrating on like Pixar or Disney types of animation, to like full length feature films or shorts. And I didn't know motion design was a thing. So it just kept showing up, and I was like, why do I want to be in both, kind of thing. But I couldn't I didn't want to double major. That wasn't my thing. I did minor in media studies, so I got some photography and video stuff in there, but
that was kind of my understanding of it too. Was like when people were talking about animation at the beginning, I was always like, yeah, no, but I don't really want to do like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. Like I don't want to, have to draw Mickey Mouse frame by frame. But then it, very quickly turned into be like, oh no, there's this whole different aspect that has this side of graphic design and this side of illustration that is its own career path and its own funnel, and continuing to learn. And you've taught me so many things also.
I'm glad. You can always share knowledge.
So it's been an interesting journey, but I think what would be really helpful for people
Mhm,
is actually just taking a look at your reel that you have. And so
mhm.
we have something loaded up real quick. We'll check that out and then we'll talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, and I'll preference that this is not like fully finished. I'm still redoing the titles, but
Cool.
it has an animatic in it. It does like most of my new work.
It's
It's
gonna be
more
great.
stuff. So
This is gonna be great. We're gonna just nix that from the record. This is awesome. Check it out.
Make good art. Do the stuff that only you can do. Your voice, your mind, your story, your vision. So write and draw and build and play and dance and live as only you can. Make it on the bad days, make it on the good days too. Make good art.
So I do actually. I'm surprised I've never asked you before. What does Zonafly stand for?
nothing important. It was college and I just needed a new username, pretty much.
Okay.
So I combined the stupidest things. So I took Arizona, the drink.
Yes, Arizona.
I
Yeah, yeah,
took
yeah.
the Zona from that, and then I literally saw a fly go past, and I just smushed them together. It is the lamest story.
I think it's the best story though. I think that's quite the landing. Hey,
I,
it's like a fly landing. You could do
I
something
just
with it
didn't
like
want all
landing
the
on the
little X
Arizona
in the
iced tea.
numbers. That was my goal. Avoid
Yeah.
that.
But I think I think it works well. It's fun. I mean, it's how I got to know you first would be the Zonafly.
Yeah.
But obviously you have your very strong Behance with all your work, which we'll be flipping through a little bit. But
Mhm.
what did that audio clip come from? What is who's
S-
speaking?
so that's Neil Gaiman.
Mhm.
So I pulled like one of my favorite make good art speech from that. He has like a really long like speech for college. I forget which college it is. So I pulled my favorite segment from that and I put it into like clips for that because it's always something I go back to when I need an inspiration. And the actual clip that I love is much longer, but obviously for real, you really only want to hit about a minute at max. So I
Yeah.
kind of condensed it and tried to make it a something that worked with everything.
All right,
So,
cool. So I'm gonna cue it up again. I'm gonna mute it this time though,
mhm.
so we can
Make
just kidding. I don't remember how to mute it, so we're not gonna do it again. But I do want to talk a little bit about the animatic at the beginning. Like
Mhm.
I know you said it's something that you're working on. Is that normally kind of the process that you have where you draw different aspects of it and then you'll kind of make them all meld together?
Yeah, so I kind of go through a whole bunch of different things, and I can actually present and show part of like the designs for where this is gonna go.
Yeah, sure, that'd be
So let
great.
me show that real quick.
And
Um,
for instance, yes, I was trying to place that voice. I know, me too. I was like, I know it. I'm familiar with it, but I couldn't think of it.
well, and I have like the book and everything that has to go with it too.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of different things, but this is kind of some of my process. I have so many iterations of how I wanted it to look, but this is kind of like an initial sketch idea that I had. I knew I wanted to have make good art because I love to do lettering. I love kind of a book idea because I want to do some more like book related stuff in terms of motion design. So whether it's trailers or motion covers, there's so many different ways I could go with that.
Right.
But I really love doing that kind of stuff. And so this is kind of just like a step through of some of the ideas I was coming up with. It's changed, and this is kind of where I've set right now. So this is kind of my here, let me make these visible for you.
And you're all working to some different art boards within Illustrator?
Yes. Well, this is Photoshop right
Oh,
now.
this is Photoshop though.
So this is
Never used it before. Sorry.
oh, sorry, what did you say?
I said I've never used it before. Sorry.
Oh yeah, I use
I'm
it
just kidding.
sometimes when I want everything to look the same. So this is
Right.
the style frame that I ended up on. So if you don't know what a style frame is, it's pretty much just how do you want your design to look. So it's the step like after sketches and before you start animating, really.
Right.
It might not fully look like this when I finish it, especially since I just got a little obsessed with 3D and it might change.
Yeah. Okay.
But so this is kind of where I've set up. so far. If you kind of go through like the things, I have like a whole bunch of different layers, trying to make sure everything's visible. And so for my whole like design, this is kind of where I want to end up. I have to kind of redesign some of the flowers so they're a little bit more on board with how I want everything to look. But I'm kind of just going through all the stages.
Wow. No, I mean, it's great. I love the tactile feel of those pages too. They feel crispy.
And that's like the rake brush, I think, and just like in Photoshop, like things that you can download from Kyle Webster. So
it comes with the Creative Cloud subscription. So you've got these fading flowers in the back. Now, I don't want to give you more work, but I'm just wondering, are the flowers in the background going to remain static, or will they have like a little bit of?
No, they're going to move. So in the kind of the animatic, there's like that little kind of swooshy look. So I want a little breeze to come through. I don't know. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
But it will kind of go this way, up around, kind of make this spin, the little middle flower. And then I wanted to kind of everything to kind of sway, if you notice.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see like in here, but these will
you totally can.
And then this will close up, churn into the book. And then I have to kind of figure out exactly how I want the book to sit, but it will open up at, well, first it will say make good art. That's the big thing.
It goes along with the audio on top of it.
Yeah. And then the doors will be there already on the pages, and the doors will open and you'll go into the book.
The doors inspired by Lord of the Rings at all?
By what?
Sorry. Lord of the Rings?
No, I haven't actually read Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, Aaron.
Don't judge me. I want to read it.
Oh, I'm not judging. I've never read them. I've just I've seen the movies so many times now. But there's a really pretty part where there's like a lit up doorway that kind of reminds me of that. Not that it feels like it's ripped off of it, just like, it's such like a cultural canon that I was like, oh, that's so beauty. So beauty. So pretty.
I think I actually think more of Inkheart, which is Cornelia Funk.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And hers is slightly different, where the people that read it, when they're reading it, some of them turn like the things into real characters, but like what comes out, something has to go in.
Right.
So it's like it switches. And I think that's kind of a little bit more kind of on the magic side that I was thinking of too.
Yeah, it has a nice glow to it. It feels very surreal, very fairy tale, very safe. Not safe as in easy, safe as in like I feel comforted while I'm watching it. Both with your color palette, your imagery, and the choices that you made. So I think it's a really good intro, and it's good. Anthony says, got some great works, loving your process. I'm excited to look through a bunch of other stuff. We do have a lot of stuff that you have also sent over. Selfishly, some of them are stuff that we worked on together, which
I was going to build case studies, but I ran out of time, and I was like, for New Year's resolutions, I'll finish up everything, but this week it's just been slammed with some other work.
Well, I mean, that's always great to hear.
So I didn't get to update.
A busy start to the beginning of the year.
Yeah, it's good and bad. It was like I kind of like jumped in and I was like, oh no, I have so many other things to do.
I have to doggy paddle.
Yeah. Instead of like,
Alessandra
like
also loves the colors. I think that the colors are such a great progression as well, because at the very beginning you have a lot of pastels that are very like muted Eastery kind of, and then as it opens in this inside, they get more contrasty and darker, but not in a way that feels dangerous. I just think that it's cool that it feels like a transition and it's the next chapter in the reel, which is really nice.
Yeah. And my color palette is crazy. Let's see if my library's on the right one. I have
how are you approaching color? Do you just bring them in and then you kind of
just like play with them, and sometimes like my color palette will change, and it's like a big color palette. So this is like one of them, and then I think I put it in this one. No, that's the old one. I have too many color palettes. See, one is this one. So this is the other one combined with the very first one I showed you. That's my color palette.
Okay.
It's a lot, obviously. And I tend to play with blend modes. And that's actually a hint as to one of the things that I want to do this year is
Okay.
I do want to make a Skillshare on blend modes.
Yeah, no, I remember when we worked
I
together,
haven't decided yet.
you had a whole like color exploration page that we had shared together where it was literally just the colors that we had identified and then all the different blend modes of those colors on each other's colors. And it made it so easy to just like pull it up and take like a bird's eye view to the max level to be like, okay, these are the combinations that are possible. This makes it cohesive. And it went a long way. It was really cool. It's something that I have now since that was back in Halloween. I have now since played with when I've worked other projects to be like, okay, I need a better understanding of my colors and how they interact with one another, not just the content. And it's a cool way to do. So I totally think you could absolutely do Skillshare off that.
Yeah, and I can definitely go through like multiple ways that you can use every single blend mode. It's just like, is that too much for a Skillshare that I have to ask? Or if I'm going to break it down into multiple sections, because if you look at like all of the blend modes, there's like so many in here. So there's like, just like, I don't know even how many groups. And there's different ones that are also only in Photoshop. So like dissolve is not in like any of iPad things, for example. There's ones that are only in AfterEffects.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to figure out how I want to lay that out. I know like the brush blend modes also have like a separate thing too, like behind and clear.
Yeah.
So those are also in there.
There's but at least behind is great. I remember when I learned behind and that changed like rather than having to make a bunch of layers underneath all other ones. I know Sam Peterson is moderating, and I know in a lot of his illustrations too, I've seen him mess with blend modes, specifically like skin tones and shadows. And I'm always trying to figure them out because I'm still such in the camp of like, I have a few that I know pretty much what they'll do. You know, that'd be like overlay, soft light, multiply. But then there's other ones like color dodge or like linear dodge where I'm like, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, and like my favorite actually secret one is like exclusion. Honestly, like all of the difference, exclusion, subtract, and divide ones are ones that people don't use a lot, but I love playing with those
color out of whatever it's on top of, right?
Yeah, so they kind of like inverse. So let me kind of show like an example of like one that's, wait, what layer am I on? We need to.
Sam says his favorite.
I'm on the wrong frame. That's what it is. I'm on frame 5 instead of 7. This is the downsides of working in Photoshop for the artboards is you never know where you are.
Yeah.
But if you do like this, is just like a black and one, and then let's do like white. You can kind of see like the blend modes will do different things. So like if I do like exclusion, and that's like all of this is white color, everything's like inverted.
It feels very spooky now.
What I love to do is I love to kind of change like colors. So like here, what's a better example? Using this kind of thing and go to exclusion. So if I want something kind of more on the vintage tone, I might put it like either on like a kind of a gold or yellow tone.
Okay.
And kind of will fade it a little bit. It's not so great on this color scheme, but like on a black and white photo, it looks better.
Yeah, and it's all about also trial and error and the idea. Like I know, oh, that was really pretty. Whatever.
Yeah, blue's really fun. It's just like all about playing with it.
Yeah,
you can really like get really interesting color tones. So like the pinks would probably play better here. The greens might also would invert it.
Ooh, that was sick.
I'll play with like exclusion a lot.
Yeah,
I think that's how you pronounce it. Yeah, exclusion.
It's funny. My experience with exclusion was a lot with exclusion blue, and this is a real throwback for everybody. You know, in the chat, there used to be this website called LiveJournal, and on LiveJournal they had these icons that everyone used, and they had tutorials on how to get the looks of them, and they were very cringy icons. But that's where I really started to learn my blend modes because they would always take blue, put it on top, and then do an exclusion layer, which I, to this day, like if I do it, I'm like, this looks too LiveJournal. But like no one else knows that. I just know that. But
that's so funny.
the more
It's
you know.
funny when you look back at all the old like websites what you learn things from. Like I learned a lot from Neopets as well as from MySpace. Those were kind
MySpace
of
and
my two
Zanga.
like graphic design and illustration basis. I
Yeah.
learned a lot from. So
Hey, look,
especially
Anna's in the
Neopets.
chat. Hi, Anna. Welcome to the
Oh, is
stream.
Anna in chat? Tell her hello. Oh, hi. I
We
keep
were just
forgetting.
going over Kendall's sizzle reel for her work that she's working in the process. We were also checking out kind of the behind the scenes that she's developing. The first one, we were talking about some blend modes. But I'd love to continue to kind of take a look at the breadth of your work. You have one here that is for Gary Vee. You had mentioned that you had done work for him in the past. And so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to blow this up so we can see this. This is from
There's no music to this one, so.
Okay, cool. And this one is a story of sorts. This week in particular on Offset, we've been talking a lot about the prominence and importance of Reels and TikTok and stories. And I think that this is a really good execution. But I guess I should just show it first. So here it is. There we go. Look at all these blend modes. Look at all that text reveal.
Yeah,
it's also cool being able to work with someone like Gary, who obviously has such an internet presence, and then being able to really be able to like do internet centric design, you know?
Yeah. And you learn so much going that quickly too, because a lot of these were the turnarounds were probably like an hour or two at most.
Wow.
There weren't very many like long-term projects. It was like I want it done by the end of week if that was long usually. Yeah. So a lot of them were like, can we just get it done in an hour? And he would sometimes come up with a whole campaign on the fly. Yeah. Like, go. And then we would just have to make it and shift like everything.
Wow.
I think like a highlight was one of the GIFs. It wasn't something I made, but it was a GIF that I clipped, made it on, was it Good Morning America? And it was like a GIF that represented Gary. And it was, I think it was Mr. Burns going from The Simpsons going like this or something.
Yeah.
And it was like, make GIFs that represent Gary. And so I put that up and it went through. And I was like, oh, I clipped that.
Something of mine exists out there on TV now. So that's good.
And then another one was, I don't have it up on here. I don't know why, but he did like a big campaign, and that was in Miami Gardens, I think. Like it was a big like screen behind him. It was like his whole thing. And it was just like a whole bunch of colors just moving across.
Oh, that's really
cool. For Agent 2021 is what it was called. So they had a whole bunch of thought leaders in the agent space. And agent kind of applied to a whole bunch of different things from like retail to, selling houses and everything, stuff like that. So
very cool. It's always kind of a dream to have your work displayed on something that's so large, and the idea of like it being the backdrop of something is really cool.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the wonderful pieces of ingredients that you made for the Halloween
and some
special.
Of these are made by Umacorn.
Yeah, which is great to see the collaboration between the two. And so Umacorn created some of these awesome icons, and then you were able to go in and you were able to illustrate some of them, and also you animated other ones that she worked on. And what was really cool about this is like there was so much of this open space of just like witchy ingredients and witchy ideas, and just being able to kind of land on anything, and then seeing the executions of it was really, really cool.
And I had a lot of fun. Like I took like the same pattern, and I wanted to make sure everything like fit together was the big thing, as in kind of an art direction mindset. You want everything to be cohesive. So that was my big thing for this, was trying to make sure that was super, like everything worked together. And this isn't like all of the icons. This is just kind of what I grabbed for showing off.
Yeah, there were so many icons. So many icons.
I think there wasn't quite 30, was there? How many?
It was a gross amount. That's all I know, because I was just like,
over 10.
Oh my god.
We did all of them.
And then
wiggle,
also
my favorite expression.
What was the favorite expression?
Wiggle. I just used the wiggle
yeah.
for almost everything. It was wiggle and gruff and edges.
Yeah, we were actually talking about it yesterday. I think with Troy, we were talking about the usage of Chat GPT AI for expressions and how that's going to be helpful for some of us that aren't as well versed as you with expressions and being able to like figure out how to make things happen on the back end. But I think that it's whenever I work on any of your files, I'm always really impressed with the efficiencies and proper shortcuts that you take, like in a way that like it's made to make your life easier, where I would be there like setting up like 1,000 keyframes. You're just like, oh, just plop this in, beep, 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 and then it like magically happens.
Well, I would say a lot of the expression stuff that I've learned is very recent. I took expression session by School of Motion, and I didn't even finish the class yet. There's so much stuff still to go through. But just in the first like couple of lessons, I just learned so much on how to set up a file. And I definitely want to continue finishing up all of those different classes because they get really in depth. Like there's like math things, cosine versus sine kind of things, and wiggle. And I just in the first like 1 hour lesson alone, I was like, oh, I don't have to keyframe everything. I can just put it on, a wiggle and loop it. Well, I already knew wiggle a little bit, but they go really in depth and they show you how to set up variables so you don't have to keep like retyping things. You put it on one layer where you can find it, stuff like that. So that's why I set up a lot of your things. Is I wanted to make it efficient so that if you needed to go in and edit it, it would just be easy for you to understand.
Yeah, and you also worked a lot on Mogerts as well, which I think is a really big, strong point of both Premiere and After Effects working together. I think in particular, I think you also even have one here as part of the portfolio with these animated type that you made for all these guys. I wish I could. Can I make it so it loops? Does that do it? No, it doesn't let me loop it. But for these in particular, you had built it out so that you could just like type whatever and they just like auto populated, right?
Yeah.
So
and that was kind of fun because all I had to do was copy and paste everything once, because you were still changing things while we were building this. So
I don't ever like to be. I don't like to ever be like in the same lesson and sentence structure as like Gary Vee would be like, yeah, he needed it in an hour, and you're like, yeah, it was. We were going live in 3 minutes, and Ryan was still updating titles.
Well, and I would say even with Gary things, we would do some of them live. So like for Ask Gary Vee, I would be sitting in the room at the same time they were filming, and they would get the live questions, whether it was either phone or it was someone on Facebook, and they would Slack me the profile like name. I would grab their picture, throw it into a Photoshop file, type their name, and then type their question, save it out as a PNG, and then send it back all in Slack within 5 to 10 minutes, mostly like 5 minutes, and it would go live on the bottom of the screen.
I guess that's show business, baby, but like, oh my gosh,
it was crazy. But it was fun. You learned a lot on how to be fast because of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And efficient.
So speaking of your process, speaking of being able to work fast and kind of like dissecting how you do what you do, we have a segment called What's in Your Sketchbook, and you were nice enough to send over some of your background process. So let's check that out a little bit.
And I also have more on my screen if you also need more. I have so many things.
She just gives and she gives and she gives. What am I supposed to do?
Ooh, what's in your sketchbook?
All right. So this here has a whole process behind it of you working from beginning to finish on this piece. What's this piece about?
Yeah. So this was both done in Procreate and in Fresco.
Great.
So I kind of combined both of them because I think some of the tools are better in either one for animation.
Yeah.
And this one's just the time lapse of everything going through. And I kind of just like took a run cycle of a cat. I think Aaron Blaze is the one. Is that right? Yeah, Aaron Blaze is the one that I took like the file on how to do it from.
Yeah.
And I just copied all of his frames basically and just smushed it into my thing. And this was for my birthday. I turned 30. And so I did it on my birthday. I was
okay.
unfortunately also sick that day, so this is fully iPad.
Okay.
I had like ear crystals that like fell out, so I couldn't get up, but I was well enough to still do work.
My
So I just
goodness.
was like sitting in my bed the whole time, and I think I drew this all on my iPad if I recall correctly.
That's remarkable.
It was really fun.
And so have you
be a full
ever
iPad artist if I want to.
have you ever animated like a 4-leg creature like walk or run cycle before? Or was this your first time?
This is I think the second one I've done, or the third one. I've done a couple of them, but most of the time it's just like in After Effects and you just like do like a looping repeat on something.
Right.
So you're not doing a ton of like detailed
Manual.
things.
Yeah.
So this was like fully still animated, so it took a lot of extra details. And there was like one time before I did like a mountain lion or a cougar doing like, no, it was a cheetah. That's what it was. It was a cheetah run where I did that, and I used like fresco to color everything in. I don't have it up here, but that was fun.
I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, this in itself is like a 2.5 minute time lapse, I think, which just makes me think that it, like, especially if you're sick, like that must have just, man,
Well, no,
taken forever.
it was mostly I was just dizzy when I stood up. That was it. So it was
I think
like really
even if I wasn't
annoying
sick,
because
I'd
I
be
wanted
dizzy.
to actually do work and like
Yeah.
sit up, but every time I got up, like my head would spin because an ear crystal in my ear had moved through the ear canal. So
Wild. I mean, it turned out to be a great piece, though. So I mean,
yeah, it was
there's
really
that.
fun. And then this one's another cat one. This was for Anna's birthday.
I have this as a. Don't I have this as a postcard, Anna? Do I have this as a postcard?
I don't know, but it's on Anna's page too. And I just took her piece and I was like just colored over it and made it animated all in fresco. This is 100% just fresco.
Ooh.
So.
And so, what are you using for the reference for the cat? Was it just things that you were?
It was
kind of
just her cat.
out?
I didn't actually reference a real cat. I'll be honest. I kind of
But it
just
works.
guessed. So some of it's a little bit wonky when I look back through it, but you know, you can just infer a lot of the things. So I was like, it's fine. And then I used
this
the
is you're
regular
just
bounce.
drawing a reference of a path for where you want the bounce to be.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was like the peach or orange. I don't remember what it is. Just bouncing.
And you generally just like put that on a separate layer, and then you'll just erase that layer after you're done with the
Yeah. So I just
animation.
hide it when I'm like exporting it fully because Fresco has so many layers that you can just turn on and off.
Right.
So I just hit it when I was done. But I wanted to just make sure the bounce was going correct. And there's like the formula for the bounce where it's like half the thing and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's great.
I just followed that.
Oh, and then what's this guy? Is this the same thing? This might be the same thing. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think one of them might just be some shorter than the other.
Look at that little guy. I also like the choices you made with the texture of the cat's fur, where it like is like a chaotic switch up because it matches the background of the composition, which is really nice. And then also I really enjoy the swirls and scribbles that you have included in the fruit at the top of the ones that are still kind of hanging on there, which is nice.
Yeah, it was a fun collaboration that Anna didn't know we were collaborating on. She said, hi, happy birthday. I've made this with your work.
This is fantastic. Alessandra says, I remember this one so perfect. Umacorn saying cute. And Anna says, cats are magic.
Yeah. So
I think looks
that was
great.
a lot of fun to make that one.
We got Castle Inktober.
So this is
What's
an
a little bit about
Inktober one. And this one I believe is also fully iPad.
Okay. And so you start off with kind of like ways of places of like associations. You have Castle, and this is you brainstorming how you're gonna create a final piece.
Yeah. So I did my own version of Inktober where I made my own prompts, so that was part of it. But I did not sketch ahead of time, so I just kind of made them up day of. So this was just Castle, and I was trying to use the same color palette for all of them. This is actually the half of the color palette that I showed at the beginning for my thing.
And then so right here, it seems like you have like different thumbnails going on, and then you kind of progress on to this other sketch that you then have.
That one is because I jumped into another program to get the fully like the straight lines. because
Yeah. Okay.
Fresco was a little bit wonky still at that time.
And then you
They're
came
much
back
better
with
now. I can
these
just
like
use the
hues and
rulers.
colors.
So, but
Wow, look at that.
what did you say?
And so then you kind of just stick to similar like hues and colors that you kind of experimented with before.
Yeah. And what's nice about libraries is I can just put everything into libraries, whether it's on desktop or on Fresco.
Yeah.
Let's go back and forth. But I jumped between
How
like
did you feel
all the
about when
programs.
you did Inktober, this most recent year?
Mhm.
How did you feel about how it turned out? Did you have any like learnings that you've had, and
I had a
will you
lot
do
of
it again?
fun. Oh, sorry. I had a lot of fun. I always have fun with my Inkatobers.
Yeah.
So this one I think is from the year before.
Okay.
So 2021 is when I did Enchanted. I didn't do very many this year. I did a few. I did Peachtober. And those are kind of there's reels on my Instagram from those that we could also go through. And they have like the behind the scenes. For this one, I learned a lot about how to use my iPad because it was the first year I think I had my iPad altogether.
Yeah.
Where I was learning a lot of the different ways to use the program of Fresco, what brushes I like, how do I want things to look. And because they go back and forth very similar between Photoshop, it was pretty easy.
Right.
And I once again used a lot of blend modes for this.
No, but I think it worked out great for the colors, and I think that it's cool to see you like experiment with different ways of incorporating these textures and these brushes, which is really fun. Look at these cute little stamps.
Oh yeah, these will appear at some point on my website. One of these days, I'll finish it. But this is probably one of the first or second times I was in Fresco, and I just wanted to make stamps. And you can see when I start to use blend modes, it's kind of the same technique where I just layer it with like soft light, multiply, and overlay and different things.
Now, I know you said that you recently had gotten your iPad like within the last like 2 years or so. Now that you've made that transition, do you find yourself mostly working digitally when you sketch, or do you do some physical stuff and then bring it into digital?
I do a little bit of both. So it just depends. I like to use like marking, and like that's actually one of my mini tutorials will be later on. That's part of it is I will mark things and then bring them into the digital space. So I'll kind of go back and forth.
Have a relationship between the two rather than just like relying solely on one.
Yeah.
I want to get better about sketching digitally, especially with the iPad, just because it's easy. Convenient wise, I mean. Anna wants to know, what's your favorite blend mode and what does it do?
Ooh, probably going back to the exclusion one because it's more powerful than people think.
Right.
I love making vintage things. I love like just like playing with. I don't know if that's actually my favorite blend mode. I think all of them are my favorite because I could really just play with every single one, and they all have different use cases.
Right.
Whether it's more kind of on the utilitarian kind of tool side, like I think was it Carolyn who showed how to make something black and white?
Yes.
Really. I didn't see the whole thing. I didn't know if she used a blend mode for that, but there's different blend modes to see like your luminosity, your values, things like that. There's also
you taught me that actually about luminosity with when I was working on the maps, I remember, and I was messing with color, and you're like, throw this on top and see what is being the loudest color of your composition, and like throw it on it, like set it all aside, which was really cool. It was helpful.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I definitely use that one a lot because I love working with color all over the place. So I just will throw things in there, and sometimes there's a hot pink color that's like really contrasting with everything, and I don't want that to be the focus. So I use like luminosity, multiply, overlays, soft light are probably my most well-used ones, and then light and color is probably like high up there too. Screen. I use like every single blend mode almost all the time, almost constantly. So.
No, I feel like it's being able to use all the tools in your toolkit can bring you really far.
And then also clear on the brush mode. If you ever get like, it works the same way as the tilde key for the eraser. It was
Oh.
just before you had the tilde key, you could switch to clear, and it would become an eraser.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's I think that's I think Anna actually taught me how to do the tilde with the brush
She taught
tool.
me too. So
Yeah.
I use that all the time.
But speaking of other people's work, I think it'd be a great transition also to take a little break from you from the spotlight so you can breathe a little bit, and we can take a look at some other work that inspires you and kind of gets you to where you are now. So let's do some art talk. So the first person we have is Sarah Beth Morgan,
Yes,
who you called out for illustration and motion, I believe.
Well, she's art director for motion, so it's a
great.
lot of illustration heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But I think she went to SCAD, if that's correct. So she learned how to do motion, but a lot of her stuff is like what I aim as an art director to start in on.
Now
I would
looking at
click on
her
the like the
website
perfume
here,
bottle thing, or it's not
this
perfume
bottle,
bottle.
perfume bottle.
Yeah.
Got
So
it.
that's one of my favorite pieces. This is for Bath and Body Works that she made, and art directed, and I love it. I went in and took pictures of it when it was on the screen.
Oh, like in
into the store.
The store.
And I just
I don't think I have audio added, so I'll just add little ooh for you guys. Wow.
And there's a couple people that have shown how they made it using like a plugin called Boa.
Boa. Oh wait, I have a Boa one, but I haven't learned how to use it yet.
It's a really fun one, but they showed like how they did the textures in there. And if you scroll down, you can like see them in GIF form if that helps.
Yeah, let's just check this out one more time.
I love the illustrations.
I love the reflections. The strokes representing wind as it goes through.
Yeah.
The weird frame rate of the birds being on different planes of like from front to back to like what's grabbing your attention. That's really interesting.
Every time I see it, I'm like, yes, I love this piece so much.
But I can also see this is very similar to the collaboration of you and Anna with the cat. I can see the two like coalescing and being. But I mean, these reflections, I don't know why, but they're really captivating me. I like the change of color and everything. I mean, this loop is great.
And she also did the course for illustration for motion from School of Motion. And that's the one I took. And she has some on Skillshare that I've been taking. And I don't know, we didn't pull it up.
How many classes are you in?
What?
How many classes are you in?
Too many.
Too many.
Too many. I have probably like 10 classes I'm taking. I'm not gonna lie.
Hey, but you're learning a lot. I mean, you definitely are retaining a lot of the things that you're taking. So never stop your education. That's important. But like these sparkles, like the color palette, I like the motion, even with the leaves here kind of on the tree. They kind of feel like they still draw your eye, and everything draws
just
out
like
from
the
there.
full texture is like my favorite part. And the guy, one of the, I think, is it Alex Deaton? It says like the credits at the bottom, but one of them had a tutorial on how to make that.
Was it Alex Unick?
I think it is. What is it? It's no.
Or Alex Deaton.
Deaton. Yeah, it's the compositing one. He showed like how he made that. And it's like all in After Effects. Like it's not like a brush tool in Photoshop that he looped or something and pulled in.
Really?
Like he uses like a mats to like go back and forth. And it's like really cool. I'll send you the link later because it's like saved into my things that I always like go through when I want to learn how to do it. And it's like adjustable, so you can change the brushes. If he doesn't like how it looks, he can change how it looks in one thing and rig it up in Boa so that it flows properly.
Oh, that's, I mean, yeah, I definitely have to check that out. Also, I'm just gonna flip through at least one other thing of Sarah's.
She has like a short film with just the fish, and that one is currently, I haven't seen it all the way through yet because It's not out quite yet,
Right.
but she has a trailer, and that's a short film that she made, and I really love that. It's
Oh,
kind
the
of like
lighting.
between the lines and her experience with bullying.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting how she did it for a short film.
Wow. The circling, all the ripples, and wow, like all the sparks and stuff.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, no, I'd be interested to see what that looks like. What else we got? Do one more. Ziply fiber. Okay.
I don't love this one that much, but I do love the style. It's different from her other ones.
Yeah, it's so interesting that it has a mixture of the two mediums.
And I think like just she doesn't usually do a lot of outlines, like textures. So this is a very different style that she worked on.
Gig speed.
I love the color palette.
I do think it's so funny how we are constantly trying to visually represent like internet speeds, like in so much work, or like cellular data speeds. It's such a common ask for a designer, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do with that?
When explainer / like commercial work is kind of hard to visualize a lot of things. Like you want to like show it, but you don't want to be so obvious on some things that people are like, you're hitting me over the head with it. But you also want to be clever. So it's like a little bit of like copywriting almost within it of how you do it. And how do you like visualize some things like internet speed, for example, like, because it's not a concept that people can like really see and grasp.
Absolutely. But that said, I still think it's successful. I think it's great. I like the colors of it. It seems like there's a lot going on in, the sides away from the competition too. It's like everything is kind of still of interest and value. But you're right. It's very outline heavy, and she doesn't seem to do a lot of outline stuff outside of this. So
when I wonder if she did this mostly in Vector, because she tends to use mostly Photoshop.
Interesting.
And she talks about that a lot in her courses, where she's using Photoshop for everything. She said, like, if you go like back to like the Chipotle one, which is the tomato one, she did a mural for it, and that one is in Vector, and she said that was a different thing for her, having to work in Vector forms, because I'm working currently on a mural for a local restaurant, and it's
you really
have to like make it like really giant. So yeah, I'm excited for
make sure it's scalable,
finished. So
but yeah, these are wonderful. I like the iconography of them. And yeah, just also being able to translate something that you hand draw into Vector is always kind of hard. But I mean, these look awesome. So the one other person that you also wanted to include for some art talk is Ordinary Folk, and they're a motion and animation design studio. Do you know where they're based out of?
I can't remember if they're Canada or close to the Canada border. I feel like if you scroll to the bottom, I think it shows like where they're from.
Right.
Like in or something.
What made you choose this one? And like, where'd you find
this?
So
this is they're in Canada. I just love like everything aspect about it, and I actually love it to the point that I've taken some of the Reese's style frame wise and put them as my background to always look at on my desktop, on my phone. So I'm always looking at it. It's like, that one's probably not good, but like my like phone like background is just like some of it, so I can always look at it. There's just something about the way that they design that I love. Like it's simplistic shapes, lots of texture heavy things. They have like a manifesto, I think, in there where it's just, or maybe this is what you're playing. It's just about the design and how they take on things. I don't know. They're just really creative, and I love like all of the things they do.
There's so many like things that are making me go cross-eyed. Just like how did they even make it happen?
Well, and sometimes one of them is it Greg Stewart in there? I forget his name off the top of my head. I think that's the right name. He's like an AfterEffects like expressions wizard. So like he like pulled up like examples for like how like things twist and turn.
Yeah.
And you would think it's 3D, or no, I think it's 2D, 3D. It's like both together, but he's
Okay.
using expressions on how to like set it up. So it's
Wow.
very interesting on how they set up everything.
Yeah, this shot right here is wild to me. So let's see, grab it again.
Love it.
This with the faces inside of them moving like liquids.
It's gorgeous. Like there's and the texture heavy part of it.
Yeah, but only in selected regions. Like these areas don't have any texture whatsoever. It's
well,
just.
I wonder if they're using what is it that I. There's a plugin that's kind of
yes.
good for that.
We actually talked about it earlier today, and I've tried to learn it, but I have not learned it yet. But I got it. And I can't think of what it's called.
I can remember the name of the artist. I think it's like Regulus is the one who creates it. Why am I blanking on it?
Also, Anna says, reminds me of the motion in the Adobe Live intro. Did they work on it? I was wondering the same thing because I saw parts of it.
I don't think they did. I think that was Oddfellows.
Oh, okay.
Which Oddfellows is Sarah Beth Morgan did work for Oddfellows.
Got it.
Which is how I found her work. Because Oddfellows is one of those studios, and I think they're in Portland. Oddfellows is. And they do a lot of the stuff with Adobe. I know that for the openers, as well as they do occasionally like a little explainer on things. Like there's ones on like people that do like type and explaining like their behind the scenes. Like they focused on someone.
Right.
I forget who it is, but that I'm pretty sure is Oddfellows.
That right there is wild, though. That switch from 2D to 3D.
Oh yeah, that one is actually part of the advanced motion course.
Oh, okay.
They teach you how to do it. I have not taken advanced motion yet,
but it's part of the things they break down. This halftone is also really crazy. Does the halftone move, or does it stay static while the object moves on top of it?
I think if you hit the little like, you can hit like a.
Oh, I can't.
Little, like one, like I don't know if you can hit like the arrow keys and it'll go forward a frame or two or not.
Oh, let's see.
Try that.
Nope. It makes
try like the comma and the period one, because that might be the one that I forget what the hotkeys are for Vimeo.
No, it's
Vimeo. It's been a while.
AKL. No. Oh, ooh, okay. Don't want to log into Vimeo. Leave me alone. Well, regardless, that's also really cool too, and that's inspiring to kind of see. I always think it's interesting with one of the first memories I have of static texture and motion, which I admittedly did not like. And now as I've grown and my tastes have changed, I kind of want to rewatch to see if I like it now. But in Chowder, the TV show.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember focusing on that too. Like, why isn't it moving?
Yeah, it like annoyed me. But now as an adult, I'm like, oh, I kind of like that style. I feel like I would maybe appreciate it now. Like, times have changed, but I remember as a kid, like it was a contesting point for me to watch the TV show because it was so distracting to me that I could not. It didn't make sense to me. But obviously now we're in a very different place of motion. Also, you know, I'm making things myself, and you know, but this is a great inspiration resource to remember to have.
And they just released the innovation ones is pretty new, and there's like a full project breakdown that everyone's been talking about. How they made it, and it's gorgeous.
Great.
And this is better with sound, of course. So I highly recommend going and watching them with sound, because this is all about sound.
Oh, well.
It's like an illustration example of sound.
Well, you guys imagine it, okay?
They worked with a sound designer. I'm trying to remember who it was on this, but I love this. It's gorgeous.
I mean, just so much of the glow.
I think it's this one. Is that their? I don't know. They have so much work. This is the scene I love. Yeah, you definitely need sound design for this.
Yeah, I've seen a plugin that allows you to do this, by the way. And I kind of messed with it. It was pretty cool. And I always forget to use it. But it's always whenever I see somebody else do something, I'm like, oh, that's a good use case for it. And also like the diffusion they have on that like opacity layer is really cool.
I'm pretty sure that's 3D with like a 2D like design on it.
Right.
I think they also if I'm remembering correctly, I think Ordinary Folk also did the intro to Spline.
Okay, yeah, that would make sense. I could see that. Ooh, that's cool. I feel like I'm at the movies and it's like the roller coaster at the beginning.
Love that. That's such a beautiful one.
Very cool. And you see they have a breakdown under here.
I think
Oh,
that's
they do. Look at that. Yeah. And it's cool that they have all the different kind of frames and stuff.
Yeah.
That's
but
really
you definitely
cool.
need sound design for that.
Cool. Well, I will make sure I'm going to throw the link to Ordinary Folk into the Chippity chat for you guys, specifically for innovations. But Anna, are you still here, Mrs. Anna?
I saw some
Anna,
freezing for a brief moment. Are we back?
We're going to do some monkey paws because we're about an hour in, and we can relax for a little bit. Are your hands tired? Do you need a break from using your hands? Well, you probably do. Also, if you need to save your work, you should do that right now because we've been live for about an hour now. And if you're working on something for an hour, you don't want to lose it. So now is a great time to stretch, to grab some water. If you're on the East Coast, maybe not get a coffee. But if you're on the West Coast, maybe up on your coffee. Who knows? But what we use in just like an hour into these shows is a thing called Monkey Paws, which Anna Davis Court has taught me to do. And basically, it's a hand stretch that you can do to just make sure that you're taking care of your wrists and your hands because they are the things that we use to create art or just use the computer. And the way that we use keyboards, mice, styluses is not very natural for human evolution, and it can actually do some damage. So it's important that you take care of your hands and you do these stretches every now and then to just make sure that you're giving proper stretch and you're giving your body the attention that it needs. So it's a series of 4 exercises. You can do them sitting, standing, at your desk, in the bathroom, in the shower, in the kitchen, as long as you're not around sharp materials. And all you're going to do is you're going to put both your hands forward like this. Okay. I'm going to put them towards the camera so you guys can tell. And all you're going to do is for the first exercise is you're just going to bring in and you're going to ooh, ooh, ah, ah. Got to make the noises. It's important. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Release. Second one you're going to do, bring it down. Ooh, ooh, ah, ah. And release. Rob says take the watch off. I guess I could take off the sure. No more watch. So we did 1, 2. Then we're gonna flip our hands over for the third thing now, like this. I give my monkey paws to you. Give them away. Bring them in. Ooh, ah, ah. And release. And then the very last one. By the way, if these hurt at all, stop. Don't do them if they hurt. You bring them in, and then ooh, ooh, ah, ah, and release. You're gonna shake it up. You might want to also do some neck rolls, some jiggles, stand up, sit down, do whatever you need. Just because your body is probably like this on the computer. And you don't want to do that. So we're going to do it one more time. You can do this as many times as you want. We're just going to do it twice though, just for the example. But then you're going to reach forward. Ooh, ooh, ah, ah, and hold. Also, look, I recently cut my nails and I don't bite my nails. So you guys can take the time right now to look at my monkey paws and be like, wow, Ryan has great nails. Thanks. Next one I'm going to do is down. Ooh, ah. And then I'm going to flip it. Ooh, ah. And then the last but not least, my least favorite. Ooh, ah. And that is monkey paws. So I hope you guys take a time to save your work, do your stretch, drink your water, you name it. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to bring Kendall back in. And she told me that she has a little something special that we can do directly after monkey paws. So this has been Monkey Paws. Welcome back.
Yes, I'm back.
How was your
I
break?
actually have a
How are
monkey
your
paw
hands?
thing to show if you want to see it.
You have what to show?
I have a monkey paw thing that I could show if you
I
want.
would love to see it.
So sweet. It's just on my screen. So
It's a
this
brief.
is the final piece, just so you know what I'm talking about. But School of Motion has like a holiday card every year for alumni. So it's like 3 seconds long. You get color palette already set up, which is what this is. And then they have like a little brief. And so this was 2021. So it was this year I'm thankful for. These are the colors we got. And then I was trying to come up with some concepts for it. So I went with monkey paws because I spent a lot of time on Anna's stream that year.
Yes.
So this is kind of like some ideas. I have little mood boards. You can see Anna's work right here.
Little gators.
These are all like people I've linked their stuff to because part of the School of Motion card is you share your files so people can always learn.
Oh, very cool.
So I just put it together in a neat way so that
I
everyone
need to
could
do
see
School of Motion
everything.
stuff. I get FOMO whenever I talk to you.
Done. You're doing great.
No, I just get FOMO of like the community.
You're really
School of
good.
Motion. With School of Motion,
I feel like
it
I have
just seems
FOMO
so
of a
cool.
lot of things.
So okay, but anyway,
yeah.
so you have everything you have all linked out, which is good.
Yeah,
my
and
chat wasn't
this is
working
like
great job with
another
monkey
mood
paws. I'm
board.
glad to hear, Anna.
Yes. And then this, you were talking about Rizzo graph in the last one, weren't you?
Yeah, is it Rizzo?
Yeah,
I was saying
last
Rizzo,
offset.
and everyone was probably laughing at me.
This is Rizzo. If anyone
I
was
wanna
in
learn how
that
to do
one and
that.
didn't know what it looked like. But I was using that as an inspiration of ideas because as you see, these are really bright colors. So I had to use a lot of blend modes. And I don't love to do like a ton of like tinting, I guess, to them. So I like to kind of preserve like the whole like hue as much as possible. So some people will like tint it and add like white to it or add black to it to make it darker or lighter. That's not my favorite way. I like to preserve these colors when I'm creating and then just use blend modes to layer. So that's part of the reason why I brought up Graph as an example. This was another concept that I didn't end up doing. And I was just like trying to figure out how to do screens together. So like maybe they reach across, using some hands from different characters and how I could use that. So that was the mood board for that. I didn't end up going with that. But I ended up with these storyboards. And it's very monkey paw heavy, as you can see.
Oh my gosh, that third frame was like,
oh yeah. It was really hard to figure out how to like illustrate it because I was like, do I go from the front or from the back? What angle?
You can reference all of the times that I cringily do it and make weird faces.
That was really fun. I was like, do I film myself doing it? And there is like an actual moment like later on for the references where I am in it. Because
you don't look very happy though. You look very upset.
I was trying to take a picture of myself doing it, and like also like looking at it, and I was like, I don't like pictures of myself at the time. So like I did from the side and from the front for my references. This was the other storyboard that I did, which was like a group of people doing it together.
My gosh, do you hate yourself? You were like, it's hard to draw two hands animated. Let's make it 12.
If you notice, I went with this one. This is the one that
good.
I finished with, actually. But these were the other rejected concepts that I did. And I was like, maybe I can draw a monkey in the middle or something doing it. But I didn't end up doing that. And I was trying to, I'm pretty sure I did it all on digital iPad. That's it, as far as I remember. Everything except for this part here.
Whoa! What is that? What is that card flipping one? That's such a cool.
Oh, this is one of my favorite designers. And let me see if I can. Reese Parker. He's an art director that I almost suggested that for also the ones that we could art talk ones. And
check him out. He's got really cool stuff. I can already tell.
He does a lot of the illustrations for like Time Lord and Overlord stuff.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, also great stuff.
So if you've like seen any of those,
That's great. Also, hi Becca, good to see you.
I don't know.
Also, Anna was defending your concentration face, so I'm sorry for mocking you for your unenthusiastic monkey paw face.
It's fine. Okay, well, I'm gonna exit out of that. I don't know how much my computer's gonna hold up with playing with that at the same time. But that one was like, these are references for animation style.
Right.
And so this one's like a degrees-of-graph one that you guys might like too. By Kelly Anderson, and she prints them out animation style wise, which is really cool.
Oh, that's very cool. And she stands them back in?
Yeah, so it's like they have like a couple points where you can make sure that they line up always, but she'll just do like cards and just cut them all out and then scan them back in.
That's very cool.
It's a really cool animation. So, and then there's my, I don't know why I look so unhappy or anything.
You look
I think
so
it was because I was trying
the only reason
so
I said
hard
anything.
to figure out what angle, and then I forgot to smile. And I was like, I looked back and I was like, why am
was
I
Anna
so
forcing
unhappy?
you to do
retake these. I've been posting them publicly. And I'm just like, I was like, nah, it's not worth it.
Oh, man.
And there's my hands from the side. So you can see my wrist fully. These were references for some animals I thought about doing. And then these were my animation tests that I did.
Great.
And then my final product. It was hard to work with those colors. I'm not gonna lie.
I love them though. I love it so much.
And there's a black and white version on Anna's Discord that we occasionally will post, and it just loops in there, and it's the same thing with just black and white.
That's amazing.
So, and yeah,
that's so sweet. That's such a nice final product. Lots of hard work and concepting went into it, and I think it turned out really nicely.
It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so I'm realizing we only have like 15 minutes left, and you have made some awesome little tutorials for us. So do you guys want to check that out?
The tutorials, yeah.
Yeah, let's just hop in the tutorial things. Unless there's anything else that you specifically want to touch on more.
No, I'll start with like my mini tutorial, I guess. So this is just like a way to bring some like of your own drawing stuff. So these are some terrible phone pictures I took of some scribbles I did on just like a piece of paper. And so I want to bring it in and use it as a texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a lasso tool. You can use either one. And just grab the section of that I want to use. I'm going to Command J and copy that so it's just separate. And then I'm going to, let's see, I usually use hotkeys. Command Shift U, which just desaturates it. And then I do Command L for the levels. And then if you hold Alt at the same time, it's easier to see those levels.
Wait, what? What does Alt do?
If you drag on these, you can see it. But if you hold like Alt at the same time, it's just easier to see what's going to come across. So
wait, let me play it. Let me play it.
What? I didn't know that was there.
It's upsetting because a lot of the things that I learn through Photoshop over and over and over again is someone just being like, Ryan, just press Alt. And so I just really need to go ever and touch Alt all the time.
When I learned this from a Skillshare project, Tom Ferrose taught a lot of those main things. I just have some adjustments to what he taught.
Yeah.
Or sped up my process personally. But if you hold Alt while dragging these, you can really just see all the things it's adjusting. So I actually crunch these down until it's like very like there's hardly any white around black around the edges, and it's really just what I want.
Great.
And you can clean up here with like a brush or a lasso tool if you're looking for it. So like I'll do like a lasso, and then it's like Shift delete or delete. No, it's backspace. That's what it is. And this is like the fill tool, and you can just like select what you wanted to fill with. I usually do white for this. You just hit OK. So like if for an example, if you've never used that tool, you can use Shift backspace, and you can fill it with like your foreground color. In this case, I have white, but You can pick a color if you want it to be gold. And I'll just do that part. I don't need that. So we'll just move to the next part of the tutorial. But what you want to do is you want to grab your whole thing and invert it, which is Command I. So it's going to be white on black now. And that's important for the next step because you're going to copy your whole file or whole section, go into channels, which if you can't find the channels, you just go into Windows and it'll pop up. It's usually on your layer panel. You're going to make a new alpha layer down here. Command V, paste that in there.
Okay.
And then you're going to hit this little icon here that just like selects everything that's white, which is why you want to make sure that you have it clear. And then
now, by any chance, do you know why you have to hop into channels for that?
So I'll show you why we're doing that in a moment, but I'm not really sure why you have to do it, but that's just the easiest way to get the alpha. Like it's like your matte. So like when you're painting on black and white, for example, it's the same thing. But that's just like the easiest way I've found to get into it. And so what I'll do is I'll select a solid color from the adjustments layer, and I'll select just my whole design. I'm gonna turn this off so you can see it better. And then I have like this as a texture now that there's two options for this that you can go into. You can either turn this into a smart object and constantly change it.
Yeah.
Or you can just always have access to the color here. So I can just change it to any color I want. Just by double clicking on the color.
That's so great. That's so handy.
I'll do things like make a.
Do you normally save that out as like something that you'll then like later bring into other projects?
Yeah. So we didn't show it in my portfolio, but there's like a piece of work that I did that's like a calendar from like 2016. I don't remember what year I did it. It's old. And that's like one that I'll like I did this a lot of. I use this, and so it's like pieces of like a teardrop or something that's good, or ink drop. I mean, you can do different things. And what's nice is I can, especially if it's in like a smart object, I can rotate it and scale it up and scale it down, and not have to
worry about it as much.
This is like the one that I did for my tester example, where I used like pen marking, and then I just clipped it to the top. And now if I want to change these colors, it's really easy. And I can just change like the blend mode. But I get like a nice little texture. And that's a good way to bring in your own pieces into your design. And this is also nicer for animation because it blows it up into a giant file.
So wait, why do you say, why is that better for animation then?
So it's like easier to like edit it. So if you're like, it's just like an easy way to come in, like separate all the layers. So if I wanted to put this into After Effects, I can just have these like not as clipping masks. And so like this would be like one full thing that I could use and pull into my After Effects. And then I could just put it into another,
like a matte or something, and you could then, like switch it around. Which, by the way, the new update with After Effects with now that you have track mats with multiple layers for multiple things is wild.
I know.
It's Wild West now. I was just like, I can do anything.
You hear my cat screaming.
Oh, I cannot hear your cat. Now I'm disappointed. I'm surprised if you've not been able to hear my cat because he's been screaming through the door this whole time.
Oh, I just heard him like go past my door just now and scream. It's close to 3, which is close to his feeding for lunchtime / dinner. So he's making his rounds asking for food.
You know what? I don't blame him. I can feel it. I guess one last thing we could very quickly do, we only have a few minutes left too, is we also use ratio, which we'd love to see kind of where that comes from. If I could see your collection.
Oh yeah.
Could I see your collection?
I was gonna ask, do you want me to do the Pinterest collection or do you want me to do the physical collection? I can do either.
Let's do Well, actually, now I'm intrigued by physical. What is physical within
it's
arm's
just
reach?
like a whole bunch of things. I was cleaning my room so you guys wouldn't have to look at complete mess behind me. So I have like old stuff that I found. I like to collect
Oh, I love
vintage
this.
things. So like this
Okay.
is like a type and lettering vintage thing. And it's got all of the type.
Wow,
So,
that's neat. And then you can kind of just use it to reference for different like letters and stuff if you wanted to.
yeah, and it's like all the standardized. So you have like Bodoni in there.
Nice.
And it's just like the whole set, which I thought was cool.
Now, did you get that back when you were younger?
No, I think I picked this up at a thrift store.
Oh, very
If I
cool.
recall correctly. I get a lot of like flea market shopping. So you can just like see like everything.
And it has the whole
it's
alphabet
like on the
and
back
everything.
too. And it's
Wings.
really just a nice like set of like, oh look, I can see what Caslin will look like in this size kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's like one. This is like just like a physical one that I think is kind of cool, which is
Ooh.
just the pickup sticks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a cool like designs.
Yeah, vintage kind of lettering that goes around it and packaging.
Yeah, I don't know if this opens easily,
Yeah, you can even hear the little squeaks to it as well.
but I got like the old like pickup sticks with it. There's like design or not design. There's like
Yeah, I had
instructions.
my old roommate in college. He would like pick up all these like owner manuals from like the 40s and 50s, and he would just like rip through them for different type inspiration and stuff to like get that retro feel, because it was, you know, back in like 2010 where that was really like the vibe. And it's amazing how much of a footprint all of these like vintage publications and passive mediums like a instruction manual for pickup sticks can actually provide to your creative outlet, which is nice.
And I just love looking at them because they like do design so simply. I actually have like a manual that's like technical. I didn't grab it and put it on here. It's somewhere on my bookshelf, but it's greasy because you can tell someone had like oily fingers and kept like looking through it.
Oh no.
It's really fun. I also have like ones like this is like a first aid basic one.
Cool.
I love this because it's set up like this.
Wow,
Like,
so
sideways,
cool.
like instead of reading it like a regular one.
Yeah.
I don't recommend using all of these tips because they're a little bit old, but it tells you like it will ask you a question on how to do CPR or what to do if you're poisoned, and like all of the different things that you can set up with. Like this
Oh
was
my gosh.
the different types of poisoning.
Yeah, I saw bleach on there, nail polish remover. Like what?
Glue is on there, lye, floor polish.
But it was also really cool. Can you flip to one of the like illustrations? I saw so like the CPR.
Yeah,
illustration was pretty cool.
so let me see. Oh, this is how to do CPR.
Yeah, like
So,
they
like
only
back in
had
the
two
day. I don't
tones.
recommend using these for your current things. Definitely go online,
Right.
or listen to that one class from The Office. That's like a great. That's like my uncle does EMT stuff, and he says the two beats are staying alive, and another one is another one bites the dust that you're supposed to go to.
Of course.
So
If it works, it
you
works.
can use those. Some of these drawings are so crude.
Anna says, I love well-loved objects in books. And Clever says, I got Chilton car manuals greasy. Which, yeah.
I don't know what this. Oh, but I guess this is the pressure point ones for your arm.
Oh, man.
I don't know what it's supposed to do though.
Yeah, but it's just throwing it out there. But it's also cool because you can also see how, like, even the way that we represent faces and bodies and everything has, you know, it changes with style, even if you don't feel like you are. And then you
This
like
is
look
like
back
an
on the stuff.
example too. That's more like a comic book style.
Yeah. Wow,
It's,
with
like,
the weird
really
speech bubble coming out of the lips.
Interesting to go through this and just go like, what?
That's
What
too
is
cool.
that? I just saw toilet cleaner.
Also, like, look at the use of space on this page. Like,
There's
why?
like nothing.
Why
The
is there
only other book-
nothing?
The only other book that I've seen that has like such empty space is House of Leaves. And that one is weird because the text is showing someone slowly falling into this like chaos.
Mm-hmm.
there's like there's a couple pages where there's just like the letter A or Y, and it's like it's a story within a story within a story. But
that in itself is like for art's purpose. This is supposed to be only for medical use, and it's like it's using things that we use now to like work with narratives and stuff.
Just even this cover is so interesting. Simple graphic design. Wow, I go through those a lot. This one, I use more. I have to hide it a lot because it gets bleached if you see the color change from the sun on this. I have to be really careful because it gets bleached easily. But like this is really like beautiful design. I just love the colors.
Historic ornament. That's sick.
Like that whole like thing is just gorgeous.
Wow.
And there's like some illustrations on the inside. And then like look at how ornate that is.
Wow, gorgeous. I'm also like wondering like what you could scan for these too, you know, like I'm sure some of them have entered public domain too, where you could like incorporate them into your design somehow too.
Easily. Like this is like the wall. Sorry, I'm trying to show this.
Oh, yeah, I remember in Baltimore, like going into friends. I remember going into friends like $300 a month apartments and houses, and like looking up at the crown molding, and I'm like, this used to be a very wealthy person's house, but now it is in disarray.
Yeah, you can always tell. Like, and I just love looking at like old things too, like going to like old architecture things, and that's a terrible example of the Pisa. Sorry. Beautiful. This one's flimsy. I think this one was given to me more as like a collage piece, honestly. So it's a little bit harder to show. I like the type on the back. Old newspapers are great.
Like throw the entire Bible on the back. Just like boom.
Beautiful. I just love everything about that.
I think that unfortunately is at our time though.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say. Just, like,
what is this guy? What is this guy?
Oh, it's kind of cool.
Ooh,
right.
Primary grade. Check that out. Is this actually yours?
No, this one's also another one I grabbed from the thrift store. So.
That's amazing.
But I can always show more, but I know we are at time.
Yeah, Tyler, time flies. But thank you so much for walking us through everything. You showed us so much awesome behind the scenes stuff, some great inspiration. You can find you at Zonafly on Instagram and Twitter, and as Kendall Hotchkiss on Behance. Can we expect anything else from you to keep an eye out for this year that you want to promote or talk about?
Yeah, so my goal is to do a Skillshare, and then I'm also aiming to open a Patreon soon. So both of those will come soon, and then maybe to YouTube. I haven't decided about that one. So
fingers crossed. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being a guest. I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. And we will see you around Behance as well in the coming days. So.
Always feel free to ask questions if you have anything that you need to have it answered. I'm always happy to answer those.
And she will teach you a million things and then be like, I didn't teach you anything. And I'm like, yeah, you did. You did.
I have like so 500 things I could teach.
Take care. Thank you. All right, guys. And that's it for Offset season like 6 or something. I'll be back in a few weeks, probably. We'll see. I'll let you guys know that's next one we get on the books. But thank you to all my guests that came on for this week. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to the Adobe Live team. And thank you everyone that was keep down chat and keep things interesting. It's been a pleasure as always. I am Ryan Selvy. You can find me on Behance as Ryan Selvy, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Mastodon. Trying to make that happen. I want Mastodon to work out so badly. But thank you guys for all being here. It was a great pleasure. I hope to see you all real soon. Take care of yourselves, and enjoy the weekend that's coming up. All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.
Go.